skills here. Very good. I give up. I'm no match for him. For now.
Domo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to another Manga Lounge Jujutsu Kaisen edition. It's that time of week again. So we're here for chapter 110, the Shibuya Incident Part 28. Remember we had that 109 left off with that big reveal that Toji is joining the party. So it's a big old family reunion. But yeah, before we get into it real quick, I just want to say thank you. I've had a few people with some really kind words saying that they've been getting kind of a little bit of extra experience out of watching these manga lounges each week, kind of making it a thing to look forward to, and they've expressed that to me, and it's really nice to hear. That's definitely what I was hoping. If even just a little bit, I can kind of enhance the amazing experience that is Jujutsu Kaisen. Maybe point out a couple things that you didn't really notice on your read through. That was really what I was hoping for, and to have a few people express that to me, it really does mean a lot. And yeah, I just want to say thank you kind of for spreading that positive juju, so to speak, especially in a kind of this, I don't want to get too deep, especially in this just kind of, world of strife that we're living in right now. There's a lot of stressors in the world right now. So kind of having those little moments of positivity for once, it's really nice, and I want to say thank you very much. But yeah, of course, as always, I hope you have a drink ready. I just going with the old-fashioned H to the O today, so I always forget to drink enough water, if I'm honest, so kind of having a bottle around just to sip on throughout the day is important. But yeah, chapter 110, Shibuya Incident Part 28, let's get right into it. Grab a seat, grab a drink, let's do it. Alright, so immediately we have this awesome, it's kind of like a semi-color page, I want to say, a little bit of, it's not in color, but it's definitely kind of catches your attention and has that impact immediately as you open up the chapter of Toji here, kind of reminiscent almost of Gojo. Even in the last chapter, a lot of people obviously noticed the kind of similarity between Toji and Gojo, and perhaps Akutami's intention is sort of similar right here too, to kind of compare the this kind of the tongue out look and kind of menacing look with Gojo and Toji. So that's pretty cool. And page 2, I love, again, kind of going with this upside down theme. Just almost playing with this kind of perspective. Toji falling, he's rising, right, for everyone else there, but immediately we get our answer with whether Fushiguro would recognize Toji or not, and it seems like he doesn't even have really kind of an inkling, like, and not that he would, you haven't seen this guy for so many years, you wouldn't immediately be like, oh wow, this guy reminds me of something, especially in this really tense situation. He's not going to have the what do you call it, the peace of mind or the mindset to be like, oh, I kind of recognize this guy, or he feels kind of familiar. He's not really going to say that, right? So I like that kind of that realistic touch there. But everyone is confused. Maki certainly is like, is that a Jujutsu sorcerer? Is he a human? Like, what's going on? Even Dagon, he's completely perplexed as well, saying that, he thought that they were trying to escape, which they were, but they're there's Dagon, you know, saying like, oh, were they actually trying to let another jutsu sorcerer in? So he's kind of misinterpreted the situation here, right? You know, kind of like a lot of people predicted in the last chapter. You know, he is definitely a weapons master, and he's got a couple of serious weapons right in his vicinity with Nanami's kind of blade there, but he recognizes something special about Playful Cloud and goes immediately for it. And just, you know, we know how strong, just physically strong Maki is supposed to be, but throws her aside like a rag doll here. It's and I like this panel on page 4 here, where it's just kind of, you see Maki's kind of arm in the corner, just like, you know, just tossing her aside. And Maki obviously just really, you know, and I love Maki and all that, but again, I'm going to keep on reiterating, I like the realistic touch here where, you know, Maki's just, she's out of her league. She's awesome in certain situations, but she's completely out of her league here. And I'm sure down the road we'll kind of get her, maybe this will be kind of a spark for her to kind of evolve a little bit, right? But the one person that does recognize Toji is Naobito here on page 5. And what a crazy panel right here with Toji. Just kind of the dark eyes and just that, you know, the classic Akutami lines in the background, that kind of like splotches, very typical of Akutami Sensei's aesthetic. And then on page 6 here is where we kind of get into a little bit of a explainer in terms of what's going on with Toji right now. So I'll take a little moment here to explain. I'm pretty sure I had to give it a couple of reads when I was reading it in Japanese, but pretty sure we got it nice and down pat here, and hopefully it was kind of conveyed properly to the readers, but I just want to go over it real quick. So Granny Ogami, remember the one that used the seance technique on top of the roof against Ino Takuma. So after she dies, remember, killed by Toji, the seance technique isn't supposed to last forever. Although, this is kind of, they explain on the next panel, saying how like there's all these kind of irregular situations here which kind of let the curse technique go amok. So it seems that the grandchild, which in an extra in volume 12 actually, they explain that it's actually not a blood-related grandchild. They kind of have a little bit of explanation on what the deal with Granny Ogami is. She's actually really a lot more creepier than the manga led on. She was pretty creepy from what we saw, but apparently she has kind of a affinity for kidnapping children and raising them as her own, so to speak, and given her curse technique, kind of using other people as these vessels for her seance technique and necromancy. It's a pretty creepy thing. So the guy that we saw on top of the roof is not actually a blood-related grandchild. But anyways, the grandchild didn't have cursed energy to begin with. Plus the fact that one of the conditions, it seems, for the seance technique to finish is that a cursed energy depletes. But as we know, Toji doesn't have cursed energy either. So you're basically successfully started this process without having the conditions of it finishing. So that's why they kind of explain, it says, therefore the marker by which the curse technique signals its end never existed. And then the multiple irregular circumstances allowed the curse technique to run rampant. So now it's just kind of like in a regular situation, it's kind of like glitching out the curse technique, so to speak. So now the only thing that will cause the technique to end is by destroying the vessel. But of course, as we know, the vessel is Toji, so that's not an easy task to do, right? But I like the little Akutami Sensei's word choice here, describing Toji as a puppet of carnage now, just always baring his fangs on page 7, baring his fangs towards the strongest around, just instinctually always going for the strongest. He's not in control of what his body's doing. He's just a puppet now, just always going for the strongest one around, and recognizes Dagon as that person or that opponent, right? And of course, we get this really cool double spread on page 8 and 9. Just some of the movement here, and just you can feel it with Toji, just like, and his hair kind of going back, and just the way that the Playful Cloud is kind of almost, looks, you can feel that movement on it. And Toji is such a great character too. I mean, as we kind of go through the pages here, page 10, 11, 12, Dagon's just completely perplexed by why this creature that has no cursed energy is not only standing toe-to-toe with him, but completely dominating the situation. And I love Toji because he plays this dynamic he plays this role in the manga where, in a world of fantastical powers and stuff, he's just physical strength. And of course, I've noticed this, and some people have pointed this out as well, that he kind of gives off that Rock Lee in Naruto feel, right? So of course, for those of you that know Naruto will know what I'm talking about. Just someone who's just physical prowess can overcome these really fantastical situations. And I'm a huge fan of Rock Lee in Naruto, and although Toji kind of plays a different role in terms of like how he fits into the story, but he plays a similar role in terms of his archetype, I guess, so to speak. And then page 13 here, I love it where he's using it in so many creative ways. I don't think we saw even Maki use it in this way, where he grabs the endmost and he just uses it as like a long whip. He's clearly just so familiar with weapons, and whether he's used that weapon before, we're not too sure, but he's clearly kind of he just has this affinity for weapons, right? So then on page 13 here, we get a neat little tidbit saying that Playful Cloud is the only special grade cursed tool not imbued with a cursed technique. So obviously we've known that special grade cursed tools are, cursed tools just in general by nature have cursed energy in them. Although we saw with the inverted Spear of Heaven, it has the effect of nullifying cursed energy. It is imbued with cursed energy and a cursed technique, apparently. But Playful Cloud is the one exception. If you're strong and you're flailing this thing around, it just depends on who's using it and how physically strong they are. And remember, at this point, a little quiz for you. Do you remember who's used Playful Cloud so far? It's the obvious ones are here. Obviously, we have Toji. We have obviously Maki as well. And then here's where it kind of gets into the little bit of a tougher ones. We've seen, if you remember, we've seen Todo actually use it as well. Remember against Hanami when he was fighting with Yuji, Volume 0. Perhaps you'll remember that Geto was using it as well, which is why Maki, when she uses it in the Goodwill Event arc, she comments, "This just doesn't feel right." But there's also one more that a lot of people forget is Megumi also used it very briefly as well when he was fighting against Hanami alongside Maki just before Todo used it. Remember, and they had that cool like switching of the weapons where Megumi eventually uses the sword and Maki uses a Playful Cloud. But so far we've had 5 people in the manga that we've seen so far anyways use Playful Cloud, and I've kind of been told now about the strength depends on who uses it. If someone like Yuji, for example, were to use it, then it could potentially be extremely powerful in his hands as well. But on page 14 here, we move on. I really like this wordplay here, where it shows Toji, and it kind of is going on saying pure and solid power. referring to both the weapon Playful Cloud as it's describing, but the fact that it shows Toji here, it kind of has that double meaning, not just Playful Cloud as pure and solid power, but Toji as pure and solid power as well. That really kind of made me smile when I was translating this, and I hope a lot of people kind of picked up on that wordplay. It was really cool. But yeah, we move on to page 15 here, and then Maki saying, "Hey, who the hell is that guy?" to Naobito. And I like Naobito. He's in Japanese he says "bore," which means like basically a ghost, a phantom, so to speak, right? So then on page 16, so everyone's just kind of observing this fight between Toji fight. It's a beatdown at this point, right? But then they're recognizing the fact that this mysterious character Toji here is kind of doing them a favor by taking out Dagon, and you know, enemy of my enemy is my friend right here as far as these few minutes here, but they're obviously on high alert, like, who is this guy? And then we see Toji starting to, like, we're not too sure what he's doing right here, but he's banging it against each other, and then we see the 4 characters on the bottom here saying, oh, he's taking Playful Cloud. And what is he doing? He's taking its shape, and on page 17 he's sharpening it, just that little horizontal panel right here. So Dagon right now kind of recognizes the fact that Megumi is starting to lose a little bit of his juice here, and then he's saying that he needs to buy time. And then of course eagle-eyed fans here on page 18 will recognize this. Oh, that's right, you can levitate, which is kind of a little funny moment because it's referring to exactly what he said in a couple chapters ago before they entered the domain. That's why kind of Naobito says, do I need to repeat myself? I always like these kind of little moments of not just detail, but kind of little humorous moments to kind of break the tension here and there. We see Toji on the last page, page 19 here, even finding another way to utilize Playful Cloud. Who knew? So it's multi-purpose. Apparently he uses it as like a pole vault, right? Gets himself up into the air, and then takes the sharpened edge and right through Dagon's head here. So Dagon clearly kind of on the defensive. I don't know. We know that Toji is very relentless. He doesn't assume, you know, when he was fighting against Gojo with the inverted spear of heaven, he let him have it. Remember, just and all down his body and all that. So very reminiscent of kind of that moment as well, right? Just going straight for the head first, and then. So perhaps, you know, he's got that other end. Perhaps he's just going to keep on going, and you know, Toji's not going to let a opportune moment go to waste. Yeah, but that was chapter 110. Man, one hell of an action-packed chapter. It'll be curious to see how this kind of plays out now. Theoretically, if Toji takes care of Dagon, right, that means that the domain will burst. And so at least they'll be out of that situation, but that is if, you know, Dagon is defeated. We don't know. Maybe Dagon has another, not even my final evolution. You know, this isn't even my final form kind of deal. Who knows? But it's kind of hard to think of Dagon getting any more powerful than this, but you never know. But yeah, well, what did you guys think? Pretty badass. I mean, if you're a Toji fan, people just eating this up right now. So yeah, so again, I want to say thanks very much for coming by and taking some time out of your day to watch. You know, spreading that positive juju with a like, with a comment. So it's really nice to see. And I'm really kind of glad to hear people are enjoying, and kind of, if even a little, it enhances your experience with this wonderful series that we have. So yeah, but with that, hey, cheers to you. You know how we do. Mata yoroshiku. See you in the next video.
no match for him.